All right. How you doing, buddy?
Good. I didn't realize you hit record.
I
How are you
did hit
doing today,
record.
Andy?
That's why I said, how you doing, buddy? We've been hanging out all day, but when I hit record, that's when I say, how you doing, buddy? So
When
how
I
you
acknowledge
doing,
you, that means
buddy?
we're recording.
How are you doing? But hey, quick question, Pat.
Huh?
How you doing?
Me?
Yeah,
I'm doing
dude.
well.
How
Andy,
you doing?
I'm doing a lot better than you are on this
You can't
big
prove that.
game day.
You can't prove that.
Yeah.
I'm doing
Probably-
good.
If honestly, if we're gonna put it on paper, I'm doing way better than you.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
Prove it.
Cat. Right here. Within arm's reach,
It's
I got a cat.
quantifiable. It's quantifiable, dude. By the numbers. By the numbers, dude. You're coming out on. God damn it. Mine is so fucking dead. It's so dead, dude. God damn it. You're so right. You have a cat. Mine's dead.
Yeah,
You
boom.
win.
Asked and answered, buddy. I would pick her up if she wouldn't scratch me.
Welcome, everybody. This is Drag the Lake. I am Andy Malafrina, dead cat, haver, Pat George, alive cat. We are ready to talk about some heckin' music. Pat, what have you been listening to this week? Because that's kind of a fun way to start this stuff. What have you been listening to this week?
Dude, I've been combing over. I did a quick research to find out if there was any. Also, just another week count of still haven't listened or watched Hamilton, but I did.
Oh yeah, we should just give up on that because like it's so funny. I was like,
it's
don't
fun
worry,
to have a running count now.
dude. I gotta
We
be
should
honest.
have like instead of an incident board, we should have a days not seen Hamilton.
Yo, for real, what is it? What is it? 3 weeks not watching Hamilton?
We vowed it. Like we like, okay, we haven't seen it now, but this week we're gonna watch it.
We're definitely
you ready?
no, dude, and we'll get into this in a topic we're talking about later because I wanna take down MGMT. But yo, I do not. I think it's like just getting older and stuff like that. I don't have patience for music I don't like. I just don't. Yeah. I don't care. Like I was trying to listen to. I mean, yeah. You know what? We'll get into that later because I want to know what you've been listening to this week because I've been listening to some good stuff this week. But yeah, it has not been Hamilton. That we can assure you because it's like I part of me wants to because I'm like, oh, it'll be so funny when we take down Hamilton and make fun of it and all that. But then I'm just like, you know what? I'm 32. My life's not where I want it to be. I don't have the money I want. Every fleeting moment is just going and going and going. And I don't want to spend any amount of it watching Hamilton.
Right. Yeah, it's like I've gone this far to, and it's not even a thing where I just don't. It's more about me not wanting to do a thing I don't want to do.
That's what I'm saying, man. I have
like
zero.
saying like, oh, I think I'm gonna hate it. It's just like a thing of like, oh, I don't want to sit here and just be like, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like this, because maybe we pop it in, and we're like, but it's not. I think most likely it's gonna be we pop it in and go like, yeah, this is what I thought it was gonna be. It's like a bunch of fucking weird people rapping about fucking history. So, but what I have been listening to is I went to try to find some newer music, something that I could listen to that maybe Spotify might have suggested or something that might have slipped through the cracks that got released when I didn't realize it. But actually, I just went over and I kind of did another comb over of the Thrice Artist in the Ambulance re-release.
Yeah,
and kind of did some more uh deep listens, like, and actually on the whole ride to the Buffalo Wild Wings last night for the UFC.
no, dude, you can't say deep and whole right after one another like that. Dude, I'm gonna listen to because of this conversation. I'm gonna listen to Thrice later and touch myself.
Do it.
There's gonna be an artist in my ambulance. What's up?
And also vowed while listening to this that we will be seeing them in May, I believe, in Philadelphia. So they're going to be doing a tour, playing this full release and everything like that. So I just said full release, huh? You like that?
You're definitely you're trying to get me. You're trying to get me horned up, Daddy-o.
So I listened to that as well as I just kind of went in a deep dive of Misfits for some reason. I've been listening to a lot of the Misfits recently, and I got to tell you, they have some very excellent songs, but I don't think as vast of a category or a catalog as I previously assumed.
Go on.
A lot of duds.
Really?
Yeah. There's a lot of re-recording. Like, so we were just talking about this last episode about how I really, really love the fact of the idea of a band re-recording and re-releasing albums that they did in the past.
Yeah.
Misfits is a good example of why you shouldn't do that.
Wait, why?
Because I think there's like one, in my humblest of opinions, if I'm speaking of the legendary band The Misfits, who I
Yeah.
respect immensely, I love even their capitalistic ways of selling that fiend skull on every fucking thing. They are punk Kiss, and I love it. But
They are. That is true.
if I were to give any criticism, there is only one version, one good version of any good Misfit song.
Okay.
And it's usually the album recording, and it's like I think if I'm thinking of their full releases, but like there's like a couple of like deep cuts of maybe their EPs of songs that they have on full length albums.
Mm-hmm.
They are not good at all. So there was a lot of skipping this weekend, but like really classic songs and really good songs. The fact that I think what's his face, who's the guy, Danzig, the lead singer,
Yeah.
what he was attempting to kind of be like a punk kind of what's the guy from the Doors,
Jim Morrison.
yeah, he's kind of I think the attempt is that, but he definitely comes off more as
Wait,
a,
he's trying to be a punk, annoying prick.
yeah, but he comes off more like a punk ish Elvis. You know what I mean? He just kind of has this
Yeah.
like it's kind of a, I don't know. It's a lot cheesier than I remember, and it's kind of like I do with a
Yeah,
lot of
but that's
movies.
not
But
even necessarily. I think you might just be. That's like the Misfits, though. Like
yeah, yeah,
they dress up as skeletons. You
but
know what I
like
mean? Like they're
yeah,
chock full of cheese. You know what I mean? They're one of those Instagram videos that when they make a burger full of cheese and then some Middle Eastern dude pours a bunch more cheese on top, and then
yeah,
you have to wear those black gloves to eat it. Like that's the Misfits. So
right,
they're if you're going into the Misfits, get ready for some cheese, dude.
yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is, I guess I just didn't realize. So when you revisit a movie from your childhood or like from when you were growing up or something like that, even as a young teen, where you're like, I watch this movie all the time. This movie was my favorite fucking movie. I love this movie. And then you go back and you're like, this movie sucks. I don't think that the Misfits suck. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that what they are a band that needs the production. If you're gonna put the cheese in, it needs to be produced cheese. Because
Okay.
if they're because a lot, Andy, a lot of the live performances from the Misfits, like if you're somebody who loves NoFX and all of the banter that they do on stage, do not ever go to a Misfit show ever, 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 ever,
Ever, ever, ever.
because they're just gonna go, yeah, mommy, can I go out and kill tonight? It's like, yeah, that's the name of the song you're about to play. What about it? Like, it's like not like, hey, you guys look pretty stupid here, and you know what I mean? Like, neg them, make fun of, interact with the crowd, like the performance aspect of it. You realize, like the Misfits, the reason they didn't get to the level of Kiss is because their performance and their engagement with the crowd is lacking.
See, I would argue that the reason they didn't get to the level of Kiss is they wrote a bunch of songs about like fucking Halloween and spooky shit, and like they would have songs where like what was the one where he's like, I raped your mother today? Things
Yeah.
like that. And then also too, like I listened to a whole podcast on it. I forget what the fuck it was called, but like Danzig just seemed like a fucking problem. And then
Yeah. Really.
then throughout their career, they kept running into like they kept like all the band members kept suing each other all the fucking time and
Mhm.
doing all this other shit. So I definitely think there was a lot of that kept them behind more so than they would have been. I would say the Misfits, considering all that, are still shockingly like making a decent amount of money and popular and shit like that.
If I may, Andy, hot take of this week:
Hit me with it.
GWAR greater than Misfits.
What's your barometer?
Overall music, performance, engagement again, how do they, what is the, when you see them live, what is the like, what's the experience, what is
Yeah.
different from seeing them live than listening to them on the album? Because
Sure.
if you see them live and they just come out, I saw Danzig play with Doyle from the Misfits. That's the closest that I've seen to the original lineup of the Misfits. I've seen M500 or whatever, which was Doyle and what's his face, uh Jerry Only.
Jerry only.
But I haven't ever seen the whole lineup. But I have seen Danzig singing Misfit song with Doyle playing guitar, which was pretty fucking cool. I was very far away, but it was still pretty cool. He like stomped out, and then they just banged out a bunch of Misfit songs. But I was like, he was like, hey, like, you know, I'd just like to introduce a friend of mine. Like, he's a lot better at it now,
Yeah.
Glenn Danzig, because he's played a lot bigger. He's had a lot more experience. He's had a lot more um let's like a lot more success. Let's just say, like, you know what I mean? Like, he's dealt with bigger audiences and stuff.
Okay.
But still, dude, like, dude, give GWAR those audiences and they'll tear it the fuck up. That's what I'm saying, is like, there is where they're actively squirting them with liquid and they're talking to them. They're taking them out of the crowd and feeding them to their gigantic puppets. GWAR is an experience that, like, if you're just I could listen to that recording of the Misfit, like, it didn't change anything being there than if I were to listen to a bootleg recording of it later on. It was cool to be there, to just be like, oh, I saw Danzig singing Misfit song
Yeah.
Oil. But other than that, it was like, you know what I mean?
Wait,
So
so what's the argument you're making?
I'm saying overall, cumulatively, which band would I say, to me, deserves the moniker of a punk or metal, like an alternative Kiss? I would say GWAR is the should be bigger than the Misfits.
Why? Because they put on a more fun live show?
Because I think they're better overall. I think the music's better. I think the performance is better. I told you, like the whole
Can I
there's
say something
different.
about GWAR? Can I say
Please,
something about GWAR? Two things. One,
you said one thing.
I don't know if this is offensive or not. I couldn't tell you one GWAR song.
It's all
I
right.
really
It's
couldn't.
not offensive. I don't know how many you couldn't tell me a Misfit song.
Yes, I could.
What you
I
just
like the
said? What's
Misfits a
that one
lot.
rip? Well, okay,
Fucking Last Caress.
not fucking Last Caress. It's
What?
called Last Caress.
Stop it. That was a terrible joke, and I hate you.
You hit. Oh,
I hate you for doing that. No, I'm bad with the names of the Misfits songs, but no,
no, that's what I'm saying.
I've listened to a bunch of them. Whatever. All no, I literally have the vinyl of in like not, like they put a bunch of EPs on one in what they put it out in like 95 or 97. It was called Last Caress, and they had like a bunch of their songs on that, and I listened to that one a bunch of times. But no, Misfits are my main band, but I definitely fuck with them. But I will acknowledge the fact that they're probably similar to the Ramones, where like the Ramones have a good plethora of hits
Yeah,
that like go hard to this day. Like if you put on Pinhead, that song fucking rips. Teenage Lobotomy's real good. Even sometimes Beat on the Brat kind of fucking hits sometimes. KKK Took My Baby Away. Like they have some fun songs, but
yeah,
like the Ramones at the same time have a shit ton of like disposable songs that
yeah.
if they fell off the face of the earth, I wouldn't miss them for a second. But I'm getting off topic. I wanted to say one more thing about GWAR that is potential hot take about GWAR is I have like I respect GWAR and I appreciate them and I think they're fun and I think the world is better for having GWAR in it. But for me personally, I don't ever want to go to a GWAR show. I
Why?
it doesn't seem fun. It
Well,
doesn't.
now it's not. I'll say now I don't think it is.
Here's my thing. Just the whole like how do I say this? Like just the whole thing of like, oh, let's get covered in blood. Cause I guess when I go do things, what am I trying to say? Because
Okay.
I can feel why I don't like it because it's like it's not fun to have like whatever they use to make the blood. It's not fun to have that on me. So then I go, well, what's the experience of how that gets on me? Is that exciting? And it just seems like some dude in a giant fucking mask is gonna walk by and spray red fucking some red goop on me. And that just I don't know, that seems like a hassle because already on top of it, you're probably going to it in like a medium to small size venue and you're nuts to butts with everyone. So you're already fucking sweaty and you're sticky and all this other shit. I got to be perfectly honest, and I got no hatred towards
Please do.
GWAR or anything like that. For me personally, I've never been in, whenever anyone's explained the GWAR experience, it has not once enticed me ever.
So if I may, there is a like you can go to SeaWorld, not get splashed by the fucking whales. Like you can stay out of the splash zone.
Yeah.
There is still an amount of air. There's an area that doesn't get affected really necessarily, but there's still other people that get covered in it that walk past you. So I understand not wanting to get your clothes messy necessarily or having that experience, but it's not as simple as just that kind of thing. There's like a show to it. And the reason that I think I respect them, and I think a better way to put it is maybe have it be, let's say, alternative music shock culture band. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like if we're gonna have a band that's gonna be singing about raping and aliens and horror movies and ripping people to shreds and all this shit, and that's your theme, like that's your main theme. You're like a horror movie theme band kind of thing.
Okay.
Whereas GWAR is more of a sci-fi movie themed band. I feel like out of those two, if you're gonna have a genre, I think the one that has more theatrics to it, because you're already being a theatrical band, just being like, we like horror movies. Neat. You know what I mean? I want to like if you're gonna be like, we like horror movies so much, we have like a team of fucking like special effects guys that make gigantic puppets to wear that they can, you know what I mean? Like to me, it's the extra effort, and they're also making better music in my opinion, and I mean this sincerely, and this is no disrespect again to the Misfits. I don't feel like the Misfits, the those songs hold up to GWAR's catalog. I don't think Misfits catalog holds up to GWAR's catalog.
So this is hard. This is hard for me to jump in on that
It's
side
different
because
genres.
I don't.
They're
This is
different
hard.
genres.
What?
They're also different genres. Like you know what I'm saying? Like one's more metal, one's more punk. It's
Yeah.
definitely separate. But I'm saying like as far as like the grouping of like shock culture bands.
Yeah. Well,
Like
what I was saying was this is hard for me to like jump in on because I genuinely don't really know GWAR's music. But
pound
what do
off in
they
the
say?
comments.
What?
Let the people pound off in the comments too. Like if anybody like that's I would like to know, am I completely off base like in that sense? But I'm sorry,
What are you completely off base? Where?
what by saying this like that I just feel like if you're comparing those two, I think it's a pretty easy argument. I love the Misfits. I like the nostalgia of it. I don't take
Well,
anything.
here, wait. This is what I'm trying. This is what I'm trying to get to. Like, what does GWAR sound like?
They're I would say uh metal, like punk metal.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's like kind of sometimes it's faster, sometimes it's more melodic, but it's just very in my opinion, well produced metal music.
All right.
But I guess more like if you were to say the Misfits are more punk or hardcore. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, the Misfits are definitely more punk, where they have
Or
elements
horror.
of that crooner shit in them.
Yeah.
And but yeah, they're definitely more because yeah, they have definitely more of that like what am I trying to like almost like that theatric not I was gonna say theatrical production, but that actually applies more to GWAR. But I'm saying like it's more so just grandiose in their feel, even though they're kind of like a smaller band. Because I'm thinking like they have songs like Where Eagles Dare, and you hear Danzig on that. And I know Danzig is fucking I don't even know. I probably just wouldn't even like the guy, but from a singing standpoint, because I've never heard too many good things about Danzig. He always just seems like I'm going off secondhand shit I've heard, but shit like with Danzig always just seems like, yeah, he had a really good voice, so we dealt with him. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
yeah, 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 yeah.
But like, if you hear, like, for me, some of their songs, like I said, where Eagles Dare, We Are 138, Hybrid Moments is really good, Last Caress, just it like his voice, you have like a straightforward, fast, catchy punk songs, but then you have this like big Elvis inspired crooner voice, and it just adds like some big energy to it.
But like I feel like in that same sense that like the lead singer Odorous Arungus from GWAR has the same theatrics. Let's just say he has great growl, like screams, great guttural screams, as well as a wonderful what's the thing we do this ah the
Vibrato.
vibrato. Yeah, yeah. He has an excellent singing voice. That's what I'm saying is I think that's
So
why
does Danzig, though.
but this is why I feel like they're comparable. And as far as where you see the Fiend Skull everywhere, I feel like you should see more of the Techno Destructo skull or one of the GWAR.
Yeah,
That's
but
what
I
I'm saying is
think
like that.
I don't I think that's due to the GWAR is a like GWAR is a less approachable band to like people who don't know the shit.
They're more intimidating for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that like definitely if you're not familiar, and also too, GWAR feels like just weirder. It's
Yeah.
like more, it's more specific. I know, and this isn't me shitting on GWAR,
No, no,
but
that's
there's it's the same problem. I was talking about this on a video I did the other night. It's the same problem you run into with ska music. There's so much fucking great ska music, but there's a bunch of dickheads the second they go like, "Oh, horns, this is stupid. That's like jazz." And you're like, "Just stop. Just
yeah,
listen. Just
yeah.
listen to it." So GWAR runs into a same problem, and I think I had a little bit of this when I first knew about them, because I rolled my eyes at GWAR for a while. GWAR has the same problem where if you go, "Oh, they wear costumes on stage," it's immediately gonna shut a shitload of people out. That's why GWAR has much more of like a cult following with that shit. They're kind of like, I don't know. I feel like they serve the same utility that ICP does, not from a musical standpoint, but just functionality. They've tapped into whatever that weird sci-fi like metal fan is, and they're like, don't worry, we've provided a space for you. The same way as like ICP is like, are you kind of a redneck and probably on meth and you like rap music? Don't worry, we've provided a space for you.
Yeah, I think there's it's a in it, but it adds that like it almost has that like you know how like every time there's a big Hollywood movie that comes out like Transformers or some shit like that, and then like when there were at least when there were video stores when we were youths, you know what I mean, when we
Yeah.
were growing up, and there would always be Transmorphers and stuff like that. You'd always see like the straight to DVD versions of like they're trying to just kind of trick you, like you're there, or like people are like, yeah, it's basically there's no more Transformers on the shelf, but I'll get a Transmorphers. That's got to be like the same, right? You know what I mean? Like it's like it feels like for anybody that anybody that wants a Mr. Pibb instead of a Dr. Pepper. I feel like any you know anybody that's
See, I
want.
don't think GWAR and the Misfits are interchangeable like that.
I'm
I've
telling you,
never met
there's a
someone
lot of
who
comparable things,
not well. Okay, here's what
a
you're
lot of
missing with
crossover.
what I'm. No, no, no. Listen, listen. This is what you're missing with what I'm saying is everything's got comparable things. You could be like, they both have guitars, they both wear outfits, but think from like I just think from like the general vibe of them,
Yeah.
GWAR and Misfits don't exist in the same space at all. From like a musical standpoint, I've never I've never ever seen in any sort of like music type shit like GWAR and Misfits in the same conversation. This is the first time I've seen GWAR and Misfits in the same conversation together.
I'm bringing it up. That's why I brought it up is because not only do I have a personal connection to them where I personally love them more, but I also feel like as far as who is given more to the fans, who deserves the admiration more, I feel like, and who I think if you're gonna say like, why do you love the Misfits? And if and whatever you're gonna tell me, like if you say, oh, I like the thing, I like how they sing about some crazy shit. They're like, fucking, I ain't no goddamn son of a bitch. You know what I mean? Like We're like, all right, well, I got some weird shit for you too with GWAR. Like they have all the singing voice, the theatrics, the theme, everything about it, horror sci-fi. But do you want visuals with it too? You don't have to get sprayed with shit. You can stand in the back and watch this shit and go like, this is a great show and it sounds fucking incredible and they're doing it live with all that shit on. It I think just because the Misfits are like buff dudes that come out with fucking eyeliner on. I love the Misfits, but like as far as like the everybody sucking the shit out of their dick, like you got something. There's a gem. There's a diamond in the rough that yes, maybe a lot of people don't know about GWAR. It is more niche, but if you are a fan of the Misfits and you are not familiar with GWAR, I think you would get a lot out of them, and I think you would realize, damn, this is a little bit better than that. That's what I'm
Hmm.
saying.
See, like I said before, my instincts are to just say the Misfits are probably better musically than GWAR. But like I said
No,
before, I
no
don't.
way.
Wait, wait,
I will.
wait, wait. Stop, stop,
Sorry.
stop.
You stop.
Stop. What?
Don't you shut your mouth, you dirty
Okay, I'm sorry. I
bitch.
forget. Patrick. But no, my instincts are to just say like I think musically the Misfits are better than GWAR. That's just what my gut tells me. But like I said, I don't listen to GWAR, so it's hard for me to like jump in on this conversation. So I will say this, like I think I go back to my original point, like the Misfits are a much more just generally speaking, they're a much more approachable band. But then, so let me bring up this other point, and then you can get emotional. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But no, I will say this though, and I've made this point before. I go, there's a reason that like fucking trying to think of a good example. There's a reason that people talk about bands like AC/DC and the Doors and the Rolling Stones and Black Sabbath and shit like that more than like Creedence Clearwater Revival
Right.
and Chicago and ELO and stuff like that. They're all great bands to a degree. I mean, AC/DC, they're the hard rock Ramones. They wrote 4 fucking songs.
Yeah.
And they were way worse songs than the Ramones. But
Real. Yeah.
either way, although TNT
They're
playing Tony
fun.
Hawk
They're
3, that
fun
shit fucking
songs.
hit.
Yeah.
But no, I will say this. There is a reason we know about like everyone talks about Black Sabbath, fucking AC/DC and all those bands more so than like I said, Creedence and shit like that is because the first group of bands, they had a better PR department.
Yeah.
And the Misfits, we joked about it earlier. You can buy anything with the goddamn
Fiend Soul
yeah,
Zippo
the
and
Fiend.
Ashtray.
Yeah, yeah, you can buy anything with that Fiend logo on it. So there is because a big part too of like how we look at these like legendary bands and or who we consider legendary and who we consider higher status and all shit like that is the way that they sort of sit in the zeitgeist in our head. So the Misfits definitely covered that better.
Yeah.
So that is a big reason. They're just more well known and it just they just feel like a much more approachable band. So that definitely has like as much as people in those genres want to talk about being individualists, nah, dude, everyone loves being a part of a group and you feel more a part of a group getting into the Misfit. Like getting into GWAR, it's fun to talk about, but I think the average person looks at getting into GWAR as like, oh, you're kind of a weirdo. But like
Yeah.
everyone can be in the Misfits and be like fucking chill. There's probably been, you see like Kylie Jenner's probably wearing like Nirvana and Metallica shirts. I'm sure she's worn a Misfits shirts at one point.
Yeah. Well, it's just one of those things that it is it's iconic. The imagery is iconic, but a lot of the people, like you said, like Kylie Jenner or somebody like that, is not going to necessarily know We Are 138 or We Bite or something like that, or any of their songs. You know what I mean? Like they might be like, "Oh yeah, I know that from that T-Mobile commercial" or something like that. You know, like they know the song from the Sailor Jerry commercial or something like that, but they don't know the history of a lot of that bullshit
Yeah.
is like it's just like and and there's also I guess there's also things where like where I think the artistic side of it, and I think the thing that I really admire more about GWAR than I do with Misfits is the fact that like the content that they're singing about, the in which like the origin of the Fiend Skull, like TX or like 138 is from a movie TXXSH or something like that, 1138 or something like that. And it's this old sci-fi movie that sucks. Like they're all of the movies that they're singing about suck. They're old fucking shitty black and white horror and sci-fi movies that fucking suck. Whereas GWAR is building their own universe and writing their own storylines and creating their own monsters. And
Yeah,
then
but like,
building
do
the
you?
monsters.
But here's the thing, though. Like, I get you understand. Like, to some people, that seems like
Really
autistic.
weird.
Wait,
Yeah.
wait, wait, wait! Don't stumble over my joke, dude.
Sorry.
That
Sorry.
that that shit from other people's perspective seems like gay prog rock horse shit.
Yeah.
Because you just said like GWAR's making their own. You sound like fucking Jason. What's his name? Remember in oh fuck, what's the dude who's in like all the Jonah Hill and Seth Rogen movies, where in
Oh
Freaks and
yeah.
Freaks and Geeks he was
um
like the drummer.
Jason
Siegel.
Siegel, yeah.
There's this scene where he's like explaining to the cute girl like why Rush rules, and it's just like I respect that. It's
Yeah.
like I respect that you like this, but you could tell in her face she's like, this all sounds fucking stupid.
But okay, but no, that I guess that's what I'm saying is I'm speaking directly to the Misfits fan. If you are a Misfits fan, then I think that you would like this better, because if you really think about it, a lot of the why do you think that that's cool that the Misfits think that this lame movie is cool? Like why? That's what I'm saying is they're singing about this because and then whereas they go like, oh, we build a storyline where we're space aliens that came to your planet to kill you and take over and enslave you, but then we discovered cocaine and got a manager and now we're a rock band.
Well, because I
Like
think this
that's
goes
funnier.
I think this goes back to my original point where I'm like, I don't think although the way you're breaking it down, there are clearly like a good amount of similarities between GWAR and the Misfits.
Yeah.
But I think at the same time, they don't, from a musical fan standpoint, what if you're going to be a person who the Misfits satisfy your needs, GWAR's not going to satisfy your needs. But if you're someone who GWAR satisfies your needs, the Misfits aren't going to satisfy your needs. I don't know. Although, like, surface level, there's a lot where the Venn diagram of GWAR and Misfits passes over each other. I'm starting to realize from having this conversation, I don't know if musically that Venn diagram mixes up as much as you think.
I'm pretty sure. I gotta say, and this is why I'm saying this is why I'm glad we're having the conversation, because it's a thing where I wanted to revisit. I'm very familiar with GWAR. I don't need to revisit them. Like I'm gonna do it now because it's gonna be a nice treat for myself. But I listened to
Wait.
now
I know.
it's getting very pretentious. I know.
No. I know I've been making jokes about you interrupting me, but I gotta interrupt you because that fucking body pivot when you said "nice treat for me," is your wife not fucking touching your dick enough? What was that, dude?
I will say that it's going to be a nice little treat for me to revisit the GWAR catalog, because I'm going to go, yup, that's reassurance. I was right. No, I think it's just more of like, it's more of substance to me. It's more of like, I see the like, you're right. The PR was way better for one band than it was the other.
Yeah.
Or the idol worship that has come from that is continued, where I think one band works a lot harder, gives a lot more, and is a lot more substance to it, that I think deserves more recognition. And that's my only point, is the fact that I think they are very comparable. And I think that one deserves a little bit more, not that one deserves less.
Let me go back to that one word you just said, idol worship, where I guess that's two words. But either way, you were talking about idol worship. No, I do think here's what I think. I will say this. I will. Oh, we get it, Pat. You have a cat.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Was she in the shot? I'll just kill her.
It's what you do to
That's
cats.
what
I've learned. I've learned it's what you do to them.
That's what we do on this show.
But no, have you heard the term NPC?
No.
in video games, NPC, non-playable character. It's and people have more recently been using it to apply it to people in the real world that just kind of go through life not thinking for themselves. Just um, there's that like one Family Guy clip they keep playing in like TikToks and shit, where something will happen. That was gross. Something will happen, and there'll be the guy who's just like, oh wow, this is going to be my personality for forever
Oh
now,
yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever the
yeah.
fuck the line is. Like that's like NPC behavior. We all do it from time to time, but like there's a lot of people. Here's the thing about the Misfits. I will say this is the Misfits, because of their legendary status, they attract NPC behavior. So you
Yeah.
get a lot of
Yeah.
disingenuous people. Because here's the thing, like I was saying before, there's a lot of songs by the Misfits that fucking rip. Like
Yeah.
if you go to right now, like on how Spotify has This Is and then the band. If you go to like This Is the Misfits, that first chunk of songs where it's like the fucking hits, those fucking go. Like when I listen to Where Eagles Dare and you hit the chorus and like I don't even know what the song's 100% about, but when I hear the one part where he goes, "I ain't no goddamn son of a bitch," it hits me somewhere special and I fucking sing it every
Yeah.
time. I
Yeah. Yeah.
fucking feel that. I don't even know what the song's about, but I
Every,
fucking feel that part.
everybody says baby, instead of baby.
Yeah,
Baby.
yeah. But so I do think the Misfits have a lot of songs that fucking hit. But at the same time, because of their like big ass legendary status, they do attract what I like to call NPC behavior. And it's people who do these things where they don't actually feel it. They just go, they have just understood what their personality is that they've chosen. And they say things that sound right. Where if you're being true to like the Misfits, like like there's an argument that like they're the least punk band ever. You know what I mean? Like they make all they fucking put their logo on all this shit. Like I was saying before, I was listening to that podcast about the Misfits, and they're constantly arguing and suing each other over
It-
like the rights to songs and who gets paid what and all this little like horse shit and all this other stuff. And there's a strong like there's a strong argument they're not that fucking punk.
speaking to that, there is a I remember when I purchased the 45 or 46 songs that weren't good enough to go on our other albums from No Effects. I was looking through the book, and it's really interesting because it goes through the years. It's like a big scrapbook.
Yeah.
The part where they because they cover the song Last Caress by the Misfits,
Yeah.
and they have a picture of, I think it's Fat Mike with Jerry Only backstage, and it's just like it almost looks like a haiku, like how it's written, but it's like just this little short paragraph, and it says, "Met the Misfits first time here at blah 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 wherever it was. Um, we offered them beer, but all they wanted to do was lift weights and drink water." It's like so like that. So you saying they're the least punk band? They're like, "You want some beer?" And they're like, "No." And they're just working out before the show, drinking water, and they're like, "Can't do it. Gotta hydrate." So yeah, you're absolutely like, as far as like every part of it, they're like, we're gonna sing about old movies from the 50s, and we're gonna do our hair and makeup and drink some water and lift weights. If you're just writing that on paper, you're like, that's gay as fuck, dude. But then you hear them and they're like, I ain't no goddamn son of a bitch. And you're like, yeah, you know what? You're not. You're absolutely right.
Well, that's like a funny thing, and I love bringing up this topic because I do that is I've talked about this a bunch on this podcast where I love analyzing these bands and stuff like that because
Yeah.
I do think a lot of this music shit, like they like these bands will exude this sort of presence and throw out different ethos and all this other shit. And then when you get up and you're very impressionable when you're a kid, and a lot of shit about music appeals to your emotions and stuff like that. And when you're becoming overly emotional, you're not like necessarily thinking logically, which doesn't always lead you to like the kind of like
That's how that's how I always explain it to my wife, and then she gets mad at me. I don't understand why. When I go, you get emotional, and then you stop making any logical sense. And she's like, "Why would you say that to me?" I'm like, "What do you mean? I was just helping."
I was just, you know how women love when you
When you
fucking
tell
hit them
them,
with a bunch of logic when they're
yeah, you
upset.
when you go like, yeah, you're just getting really upset right now, and it makes you really emotional and kind of irrational. So I think we should probably wait a little bit until you calm down.
But
Take notes, gentlemen.
and if they don't do anything, you just hit them.
I haven't seen her in 2 weeks. She left a long time ago.
But where was I? I was saying like, a lot of that shit you get caught up in that, and then a lot of times, like a lot of this punk shit, like will set you up for failure. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
So I love looking back at like which of these bands were kind of like more fraudulent and stuff like that. Because
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
it's a hard, I feel like it's a hard thing to get into kids and certain people and stuff because they get so caught up in the emotions of a lot of this music shit. But yeah, it's
So
like go on.
so sorry. There are bands from that era, like we are just talking about the Ramones. Even though that there maybe not every single song is incredible, the recordings, the original recordings that you can go back and listen to, still hold up on a lot of their songs. The same will kind of go for the Misfits as well. That's what I'm saying, is like they hold up as far as that is is when you get into like the alternates of when you're adding other elements of um like their legacy, let's just say. Like I like doing that, the rehashing of some of these bands that I grew up with, because I want to like to kind of acknowledge what you're talking about, of like how much of the identity did I get caught up in. I wanted a Dead Kennedy shirt so fucking bad,
Yeah.
but like I it's because I liked the Dead Kennedys. I didn't want a TSOL shirt because I wasn't really that familiar with them. I was, you know what I mean? Like there's certain bands that were iconic, that had that imagery, that had those really cool iconic shirts, that I wasn't just gonna buy because I knew they were iconic. I needed to have some kind of connection to them in some way. But like, what was the connection I really had with the Dead Kennedys? So like, kind of like revisiting some of these bands and kind of like going over this, where both GWAR and the GWAR was a bigger band in my life than the Misfits were, but the Misfits were so much more prominent in when I went to shows. Like everywhere I go, I see this band and I go and since then I've become a lot more familiar with the Misfits, and even seen a couple different, you know, or organizations of them, like different groupings and compositions of the band. and it's kind of like, well, like if I'm being honest, like this is what I'm saying is my assessment of this, and even kind of revisiting their catalog, it's kind of like, yeah, I gotta say, I think GWAR, like in this case, GWAR. So I think we should try to think about this in the future, of like what bands hold up to their legacy. You know what I mean? Like what kind of bands, what other band, like, you know what I mean? Like I said, I think the Dead Kennedys might be next, because like Jello Biafra is a silly goose. That is
Yeah.
if we're
But
talking silly goose.
here's the thing about the Dead Kennedys is whether you like or dislike Jello Biafra, he's like consistent.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
nothing he does, like I feel like a dude like Danzig, where because well, even with GWAR, like for a band that dresses up in monster outfits the whole time, and this is gonna sound weird, but I think I'm right, and just go with me. Like
Yeah, yeah.
for a band that dresses up in monster outfits all the time, I feel like if you met the they have a lady singer now, right?
They've always had, her name is Slimenstra, Andy, and she's always been a character. But
But I feel like if you met any of the members of GWAR, they would be consistent with their thing. I feel like with Danzig and the energy of the Misfits, like if you met Danzig, you'd probably be bummed. That's the vibe I get.
yeah,
I haven't heard a lot of people who are like, "Oh yeah, Danzig's like rules,"
yeah.
or something like.
Well, that so I will say, I haven't met Danzig. I have met briefly the lead singer and also bass player of GWAR.
Okay.
Odorous Orungus. I was waiting outside their bus one time for a long time, and out of nowhere, this guy that came out, and like I could see a couple of their like like stage hands were coming out, like they call them slaves, they're slaves, whatever,
Oh,
and they're putting their stuff out and everything like that. And then all of a sudden, this guy who was like wasn't wearing a shirt, looked like he was kind of like in sweats or something like that, was walking in the bus, but had this big fucking 2 liter or two big gallon of milk.
yeah.
And he was like he was like drinking the milk, and he like looked at me, long hair, like dreads kind of, and like offered me some milk. And I was like, no thank you. And he was like, and like walked on the bus. And I was like, shit, that's fucking odorous. Because later on, I was like, that's gotta be like, he looked different. It was either him or one of the other guitar
He
players.
looked different. Was he
He
not
looked,
in a
yeah,
monster outfit?
he looked taller. Like, well, no, he wasn't in anything. Like, he didn't, like, he looked like he was like sweating like crazy. Like, he had just took it all off and was like, you take care of it, and like walked on the bus. So the bass player, Beefcake, the Mighty, came out later on. Super nice. Actually, we asked him for an autograph. Not only did he make draw an autograph, he drew like a picture,
Yeah.
like a little cartoon, and signed that. Took a picture with us, all that stuff. But I was like, oh yeah, this guy drinking milk. He's like, oh yeah, that was odorous. He's like, that was, he's like, he does that. It coats his throat after, because screaming the whole time and everything like that. Afterwards, if you drink milk, I guess it helped his throat
Yeah.
like that. And I was like, holy shit, I was offered milk by this guy. But that's what I'm saying. Super nice guy, like funny guy, great sense of humor. As far as like, you're gonna offer this kid milk that's standing next to you, like, who the fuck ever takes the milk?
I don't
But
know if it's a real
like a
I don't know
gag.
if there's a real expectation anyone's ever going to take the milk.
No, no, that's
I think it's more of an acknowledgement of like I know I'm walking around with milk.
yeah. This isn't. Yeah, it's a weird thing.
But
I
yeah,
enjoy my ice cold milk.
I think that goes to my point originally where relating it back to like the dead Kennedys and stuff is whether you like them or dislike them, they are like you're not going to be surprised when you meet Jello. Like when
Yeah,
you meet Jello, and it sounded like when you met those dudes from GWAR, you weren't like surprised with how they were or something like that. So they definitely have. Yeah, definitely with a band like GWAR and a band, it is ironic. It's ironic out of like the two bands we're talking about, the band that goes up and pretends like they're fucking monsters from outer space. They are at the end of the day the more authentic band.
the sweeter, nicer, authentic dudes, like down to earth dudes. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you're right.
I'm not even talking about good or bad. They're just more authentic. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
No, I get that. Yeah, and also have, I think, a longer track record. Like, the Misfits started earlier than them, but then
What
ended
do
in
you mean by that? Longer track record.
so the Misfits started in 1977 and went till 1983, but then GWAR went from 1984 until now. Like, they never stopped. So
Wait.
I wait, you stop.
Misfits only went. What do you mean they only went to
Then
83?
they came back in 1995. It says till present, but like, it's not the Misfits. It's not the same. It's not the band, the Misfits. This GWAR. See, also, if I also can add another argument, they're in these legendary old punk slash metal bands. A lot of times you're gonna lose a member here and there.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody slips out or whatever, but in GWAR, you can have the same characters. They have the option that I'm sure that they can come in and wear the same outfit if they want to just be Beefcake, or if they want to be a new bass player, they can create a new bass player character and be
Yeah.
that character. So whereas like the Misfits, you have the option that you can just kind of loop people out in those same costumes, or you can have a new character. Whereas the Misfits, you have to have a new. You can't just have a new. So
That's a good. That's kind of like a good. That's kind of an interesting thing to think about because it's like when did the Misfits? When did the Misfits stop being the Misfits and then they become sort of like a high functioning cover, like a high functioning cover band almost.
that's what I'm saying. Is in 1983 is or whenever they broke up. That was when, in my opinion, the Misfits broke up. Because since then, like when 1995, I don't know if Michael Graves started right at that time, but then they came back with Michael Graves as the singer. I think they released a couple albums. A lot of people don't like him as a singer.
I'll say this. I'll say this. You could still count the like mid to late 90s Misfits as the Misfits because they had
I like
some
American Psycho. That was a good
they
song.
had some they had some substantive songs with some real like some real fucking energy behind them. By the
But
way, I'm on the Wikipedia page and on the track listing, number 2 is American Psycho, and then in parentheses it says based on American Psycho. You fucking think?
what gave it away?
Number 1, Abominable Dr. Fives, instrumental based on, get ready, Pat, the
American
Abominable
Psycho.
Dr. Fives.
That was a good
Who
song,
made this
American Psycho.
Wikipedia page?
Maybe the Misfits.
Yeah. Now I
Michael.
will say this: a lot of the like literally if you look at American Psycho, all the track listings are just these songs are like half the songs are just old horror movies and shit like that.
Dude, that's all of the Misfits. That's all of the Misfits. That's what I'm saying is they just came back. They became a Misfits cover band with that guy, and I think they did a very good job.
I hear what you're saying there because it kind of yeah. They kind of came back and they were like, all right, I know there's some original characters, but we're kind of just doing what we think the Misfits would do right now. We're not a band
Yes,
writing music. We're doing
exactly.
what the Misfits would be doing. So yeah. No,
And
don't get me wrong. GWAR versus Misfits, GWAR wins the authenticity and longevity contest every single fucking time.
yeah, and GWAR I don't think became that until Odorous passed away. With all due respect to the newest formation of GWAR, I he had such a distinct voice. He was the linchpin in that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So so whereas we were talking about before where uh every time I die is not necessarily Keith Buckley, it is the band. So like whatever whatever band they become now is going to be every time I die with Josh Scogan as the singer,
Yeah.
Paul
No,
as the singer.
there's a lot of that's an interesting way to look at bands and stuff like that because there's a lot of good examples of it where
Who is the band? You know what I
well,
mean? Yeah.
like it's funny you like we were saying like every time I die is not really a band. Yeah, they're really funny because yeah, without Keith, it's not every time I die, but also without the band, whatever band Keith starts also isn't going to be every time I die.
Not even close.
I
Yeah.
think like the biggest mainstream example of that was like Guns N' Roses, biggest band in the fucking world. But when Axl Rose, what was the shit he put out like Chinese Democracy or whatever?
Yeah. Yeah.
That like, and I'm not even like sitting here being like, oh, I'm a huge like I like the hits, but I don't really listen to Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
But like when they put out Chinese Democracy and when all that shit, like no one was like, oh yeah, this is Guns N' Roses. People were like, no, that's whatever the fuck Axl's doing right now.
And like you said, it's him trying to be like, I'm Axl Rose from Guns N' Roses, and this is what I'm putting out now.
Yeah,
I mean, like
that's
it's the
why
same thing. Yeah.
I fully support just start a new band. I mean, and if you're good enough, and I know we've made fun of them before, but like the Foo Fighters, I know we joke like if Foo Fighters are your favorite band,
Stop.
you just learn more things.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like the Foo Fighters got hits, so it's like just keep it going, write some good fucking songs, get a new identity, and if you're good, you'll fucking pop off. And if
Yeah.
not, you'll probably get addicted to drugs and fucking die, and no one will care.
Yeah. I mean, either way, it's like we're getting answers, you know?
Hell yeah. You know what? Let's wrap it up here because I think we don't have enough time to get into a whole other topic. But
Right. Yeah.
I love a whole episode based off something not even planned.
But not only that, but also like the fact that like who the fuck is talking about GWAR versus the Misfits? Like I mean,
You're insane ass.
yeah, I don't know why I don't know why that was a thought in my head, but I was just like, yeah, dude, fuck that, man. GWAR needs to get a little bit more shine. And not only that, and I'm not that I wasn't listening to you, but actively during this episode, I was shopping for GWAR shirts online.
That's hilarious. Oh, actually, one thing I do want to mention, just for people to go do their own homework on. You know
Yeah.
what I realized? I was at the gym recently, and they were playing Judas Priest, Breaking the Law.
Mhm.
That was like, pumping over the speakers. Um, Almost the same riff as American Jesus by Bad Religion.
I'm trying to think of like
Yeah, dude. Think about American Jesus and
I
sing
don't,
"Breaking the Law" over it. Breaking the law, breaking the law.
yeah, I don't know if I'm familiar. Are you talking about the riff is
Yeah,
also
the
from?
riff. You know what? I can't play it. I shouldn't have brought it up.
No, I'm gonna no because I want. I no, I like. You said it was for homework anyway, so I'm
Oh,
gonna
my
listen to
fault. My
that.
fault.
I'm
I
gonna
drink too
listen
much
to that.
caffeine. I'm self conscious. Hey, Pat.
Hi. Well, remember when I did that whole MMA show in one breath earlier? That was because of caffeine.
That was impressive. I was proud of you.
That was pretty good. I think I died for a minute, but then I had that Cadbury egg, and I really rifled through this whole debate that has really been plaguing the nation about Pat. Which one should get more recognition, the Misfits or GWAR? And also, who's GWAR?
Well, I'll try to I'll give a recap of next of or I'll listen to some GWAR and maybe give an update next time. But
Has it been long enough? Can I mention the song "Baby Raper" by GWAR? Is one of my recommendations if you like
oh, wait
shocking
a
songs.
minute. GWAR has songs about raping kids too?
I'm telling you, it is comparable.
Well, here no, and this is the interesting thing is like I was saying before is like you can have so there's like these bands like I'm trying to think of like two good examples or two bands like I'm trying to think like okay you may like you may it's kind of funny because like take like the Red Hot Chili Peppers and then take like the Beastie Boys.
Mhm.
Not a lot in common, to be perfectly honest, like musically.
Right.
But if you're a fan of one, you're probably a fan of the other.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I get you.
And I think what's interesting about the GWAR Misfits conversation is on paper, there's a shit ton of crossover.
Yeah.
But, and this was the point I was trying to make earlier, is if you're a fan of the Misfits, you're probably not a fan of GWAR. And if you're a fan of GWAR, you're probably not a fan of the Misfits.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's my theory I'm going to stick with.
Yeah, I like that. I like that take. Yeah, and that's or maybe just not as familiar. Yeah, I know who they are and they have this song or
But
whatever.
I think that kind of goes with kind of what I was saying where it's like there's something about liking the Misfits that would not bring you any interest in checking out GWAR.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm doing a service. Maybe I'm helping all these
Maybe you're bridging a gap between two
wayward fans,
communities that need to get together.
and then they should go to the gathering of the Juggalos and defeat them.
No, nothing wrong with Juggalos. They're fine.
Just take over the event. That's all.
All right. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. We love you all. Be about it. Peace.